Right, you battlers, you know what it is. JayDevin back at it with another Go Battle League video. Togekiss. Now, you might think, you know, with Togekiss, especially leading with Togekiss, like that's going to be really risky, right? Because a lot of people might be opening Steel. They'll be opening Mewtwo here, which the Psy Strike will do massive damage. And if it's carrying Rock Slide, that'll be super effective. And, you know, hey, the Articuno lead is still very viable. Why in the world would you open with a Flyer, let alone Togekiss? Or, you know, if they open Melmetal or Registeel, it's like, you don't want to lead Togekiss, right? Wrong. Leading Togekiss can work, and it can work really well. The reason I say that is because, how do I say it? This video specifically, I think in the gameplay over here is going to be featured 2 different sets, which these weren't the best sets, honestly, from what I ran with this line. But I did end up doing very well with this line. I put my rating at the end of all my sets from yesterday right here. As you can see, as you know, my rating's been progressing. It is working. It's working for me, at least. Maybe it can work for you. Let me know what you think. But the whole strategy around this is centered around either winning the lead or losing the lead, right? This is going to be one of those lead teams that can be kind of unpredictable, right? If like I mentioned in my previous video, if somebody leads with an Articuno, I want my comp to be based around that so I can handle that lead with Articuno. But that's part of the problem sometimes when you develop a team, especially for Go Battle League, right? Because we don't see, you know, what Pokemon they're choosing from. Right now it's not pick 6 and then choose 3. We don't have that currently. It's completely blind. Bruh. So this is one of those strategies where you're either really going to win the lead or you're really going to lose the lead. Now, as you can see, to put simply here, it says lead Togekiss, Charm on the Ice, or lead Togekiss, yeah, Charm on Ice, and then swap on Steel. Is basically, that's like the super duper like summarized main points of my thought process for this team and how to use it. Obviously, you're going to simply lead with Togekiss. You're going to Charm on the Ice, even if it's Articuno. What I've done a couple times, I don't know if we see it in this gameplay, but what I've done a couple times is I will Charm. I'm going to shield the first Icy Wind, get in a couple more Charms to where I either have access to the Ancient Power or I'm only 1 to 2 Charms away from the Ancient Power. And then at that point, I am going to swap into Lucario and or Giratina, I guess depending on how I feel in the moment. For the most part, I'll swap Lucario so I can save the Ancient Power from the Giratina and or that Togekiss later on for that Articuno, right? To see if we can take shields as we get to that portion of the battle. So Charm on the Ice, even if it's against Lapras, I'm going to Charm on the Ice. Cloyster, I'm going to Charm on the Ice. Any ice you bring for Alligator, I'm going to Charm on the Ice. That's it, just Charm on the Ice, okay? Swapping on Steel, yes, I don't. If I see a Steel lead, I'm not going to do the same thing that I would against the Ice, because at least against the Ice is not going to resist the Charm damage. I can deal neutral, and you know, even against a Lapras, since it's not going to debuff me, by the time I build up enough energy to get close to an Ancient Power or to get an Ancient Power, they're going to be, you know, basically halfway gone with their health. And like, I guess in that scenario specifically against a Lapras, I would definitely swap Lucario to have them either throw their energy, like to waste their energy by throwing a Surf, which would deal neutral, but I want them to do that so that they don't have any more energy for that matchup later on, okay? So it's all about, even if you lose the lead, just play it correctly, be patient, and think out the plays as the battle progresses. It's more of a methodical and more of a strategic team with this one, rather than a team, I guess, that I usually kind of feature teams that have, you know, coverage and or answers to everything. I've tried a couple teams like that, honestly, and I don't like them, because even though they'll have good coverage and answers to everything, if you get overpowered by a core matchup of Giratina, Registeel, even if all 3 of your Pokemon has you know, answers to those two, like if you ran a Snorlax Meganium core, like you can still lose that. You can still lose. Even though you have an answer, you can still lose. And this team functions differently from that, because it's going to force matchups, it's going to force swaps and or force shields. So this is kind of a more aggressive team to kind of take command of the battle and to position yourself to actually like manipulate your opponent to bring you success. That sounds really like That sounds too good to be true when I say it, but that's kind of what the team does if you play it right. So, yeah, Charmander, swap on the Steel. It doesn't matter what Steel it is. Melmetal, Caesar, Registeel, I'm going to swap out. Steelix, I'm going to swap out. No matter what Steel they lead with, I'm swapping out. Even if it's an Empoleon, I'm still going to swap out. I don't want to, you know, waste those resisted charms against the Steel. I want to force the swap and then play it out accordingly later on in that matchup. Most of the time, you might be thinking most of the time like, okay, well, you know, if they lead Steel, obviously I want to just bring in the Lucario immediately so we can dominate the Steel. No, sometimes yes, but most of the time no. Most of the time I will swap in with the Giratina because Giratina can still have good, if not winning matchups against all of those picks if they do not shield and I use one, maybe even two shields. So again, with this team as well too, and running it this way, don't be afraid to use your shields on the lead like this, and also don't be afraid to use your shields on the dragon, etc. As you can see from this matchup, I didn't build up and swap for some reason against this Lapras here. Okay, so I threw the Ancient Power, which was effective. I was going for a counter down on the Lapras apparently, but they, like I said too, they're going to waste their energy, throw the Surf. I'm just going to continue to counter down, and we got some energy good to go for this Armored Mewtwo, which we can throw the Shadow Ball at, so that's going to put a lot of pressure on, and we do successfully get the shield, so we're not exactly at an advantage at this point though. And this is one of the battles I think I had where I kind of learned that lesson from, like maybe rather than, you know, not shielding and swapping out and throwing my charge with the Charmer, maybe I use a shield, continue to build up energy, and then swap. Because if I still had, you know, that full health or even partial to full health Charmer in my arsenal, then this matchup could have played out a lot differently. Did I still win? I don't know that I still won this, honestly. No, yeah, I lost. That's GG's, because they have a... Yeah, I quit. Honestly, that was just like, I just conceded. Obviously, you won. There's really nothing I can do. I played it bad. I made a mistake. And yeah, that's definitely where I learned the lesson of playing it correctly in the future, which we learned, and that's helped a little bit, right? So, swap on the Steel. Oh, again, like I was saying, sorry I got off track, but like I was saying, if I see the Steel open, I'm going to swap in with the Giratina. And the reason I do that as well too, rather than just, you know, I'll save the Lucario and I can still potentially beat their Steel with the Giratina, that's not the reason. Like, it kind of throws some people off. They'll use some energy. I'll invest another shield sometimes, and then they'll end up swapping out into something that can usually answer the Giratina, right? They'll usually reveal their anti-Giratina, whether that's, you know, their own Charmer, or whether that's I've seen Shift Trees come out from that, and Alolan Mux, and like between Togekiss and Lucario, like you can handle all of those. So after they swap, depending on how the matchups have gone and how the battles progressed, like it can be pretty subjective a lot of the times, to be honest with you. But depending on how that's gone, I'll either let the Giratina fall, or I will do, I guess if the timer is accessible for me, if I can access a swap, I'll make that swap as quick as possible to take advantage of them bringing in their answer for the Giratina, and then I'll still try and keep the Giratina in the pocket, if that makes sense. So it can be you know, a kind of play, I guess, or a kind of strategy, or team, whatever you want to call it, where you're going to be making a lot of switches and you have to make a lot of correct calls as to, do I shield, do I not shield? And, you know, again, to be honest with you, that was 3 for 5. Not that good, but again, we learned some good lessons in that one. But yeah, to be honest with you, this team can take a lot of practice. It takes a lot of know-how. Overall, you have to know your own way around a team in Ultra Go Battle League to really make this team work. I mean, that's not as complicated as it might sound or as it might seem, because teams are pretty much the same for the most part. Like, it's either going to be a team that is, you know, anti-meta, so a lot of things that can just counter Giratina. One of them might also be able to counter Togekiss, right? Like the combination, the core of a, Gyarados plus Alolan Muck, that's the same thing. Like if you see one or both of those picks, you know it might be an anti-meta and or an off-meta team, and you can play accordingly based off that. And, you know, with that, especially like Shift Tree 2, that's why the Lucario's there. He's going to basically, he's going to be the anti-meta bodyguard for the meta in this team, kind of. And even with the Poliwrath 2, that's the good thing about this team is if the Lucario does not take out the Poliwrath, then I'll just come back in with the Togekiss, and the Togekiss is definitely going to take out the Poliwrath. And that was one of my main reasons for making this team, is because I started to run into Poliwrath a lot. Like literally there was 2 sets, I want to say a couple days ago, where I saw Poliwrath 7 times. Yeah, 7 times out of 5 battles. So 70% of the time I saw Poliwrath, and I'm like, you know what, that's it. That's when I started to consider, you know, Psystrike, Mewtwo and everything, but I'm like, what if I just run a Charmer, but still keep using Lucario, because I've really liked how Lucario's been working for me. He makes people think a lot, and I love the plays I can pull off with him. So that's basically where this came from, the Togekiss, Giratina, Lucario. This team core is actually really common, to be honest. It is kind of BBML. The only, you know, spicy or mildly spicy pick is going to be the Lucario. Basically, you know, a lot of teams, if you basically drop Lucario and include Swampert, that's a super common team. But that's not what this team is. That's not how this team works. It's different. It has the core meta, but it is still different. But yeah, Charm, Ancient Power, and Flamethrower on the Togekiss, right? Potential boost. Flamethrower can answer the steals in the grass, etc. And the standard Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw, Ancient Power on the Giratina altered. I have considered trying, what is it? Shadow Claw. Yeah, I've considered trying Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw, and Shadow Sneak. But with this team, that's not necessary because I have the Lucario. The reason mainly that you would want to run Shadow Sneak on a Giratina altered in the Ultra League for Go Battle League is because it can function, you know, better, or I guess more alive. It can answer steals a little better with the Shadow Sneak, right? Because it still gets the same type attack bonus from Shadow Sneak, and even though it's a higher energy cost move than Dragon Claw, it is at least going to be neutral and not resisted like both Dragon Claw and Ancient Power are. So I have considered that, but again, with this specific line, it's not necessary at all. Otherwise, I might do it. I might still try it soon, to be honest. We'll see how it goes. Then Lucario, same thing as the, was it yesterday? No, yesterday's video was Lapras. The video before that, where I did the Lucario video, I'm running the same set, Counter, Shadow Ball, and Close Combat. I don't like running Power Up Punch at all, or even Aura Sphere. There are variants, you know, where both of those movesets could work. Heard people say they've seen Counter Power Up Punch in Close Combat, but again, that's not the way I like to run it. I mean, he can be, I like to use him as a generalist this way that can hit almost everything really, really hard, right? Like Shadow Ball is going to hit almost everything really, really hard. I feel like the reason I run it this way is because if I have a shield advantage, if their shields are down, I'm going to be able to close with Lucario, because really nothing is going to be able to stand in his way, especially if I get enough energy. It doesn't matter if you have a Snorlax, you have a Giratina Origin, you have a Swampert, you have a Venusaur, Togekiss. Like, if I have the shield advantage and or the energy or HP advantage or whatever, like, I'm just going to win, because Lucario with the shield does the job. He will seal the deal. But yeah, that's just my opinion on Lucario. I've seen a lot of stuff thrown around about how to run him, how to use him, etc. I don't really think there's any one specific way to use Lucario and to make him work, you know, the best. Honestly, I've been trying to find that, but since I haven't been able to find it, honestly, it just makes me like Lucario even more, because he's like a Swiss Army knife. You can run so many different move sets on a Lucario, and he can function completely differently in different settings. You can use him in so many different ways. I mean, you know, you could say that for, you know, all Pokemon that are going to be available to battle with, but specifically with Lucario in the Ultra League because of the current meta core with Registeel and Giratina. Close Combat, Registeel. Shadow Ball, Giratina. I don't think it's going to, you know, one-hit KO at full health either of them, but that doesn't matter, because then I can answer both of them with whatever I'm going to have left over. So that's basically the team. That's why I run it the way I run it. Hopefully it makes sense with how I explained it. Yeah, I really like how the team has performed. At this point, there is, what was there? Yeah, there was a spicy pick in the Ultra League that I invested for to try and feature in a video. After running a few sets, honestly, I don't know that I'm gonna even feature it, because I did, I think I only ended up doing 2 sets with it, and in both of those sets I went 2 for 5, which was bad. That had my rating go down, so now I'm trying to grind in the Go Battle League to get my rating back up, I won't even feature it. At least I'm not going to feature it until I can actually make it work for you, and then I'll present it, because I don't want to present some spice or some off meta stuff for you where I do just terrible as far as performance. I feel like that's I mean, I wouldn't want to watch that. If you want to, you're more than welcome to, I guess, on other channels, but I'd like to bring stuff that at least performs consistently for me, and hopefully it can then perform consistently for you, basically. I'm the guinea pig, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But okay, so aside from the spicy pick, today I did literally spend all the rest of my dust that I have. I've picked up a little bit of what I lost since then, but I have invested into Melmetal, so I will start using Melmetal in these next sets for Go Battle League coming up. I don't know if I'll use it tomorrow, possibly the next day, or I might even save it for stream. But Melmetal can kind of be like Lucario, where he can be kind of a Swiss Army knife, and he can be pretty unpredictable. You can lead with him, you can have him in the back. There's so many flexible plays with Melmetal. The main thing is, if you have a Melmetal, don't count on Melmetal to function as a replacement for Registeel. I'll say that one more time. If you have a Melmetal and you use it and it's double moved, right? If you have the standard set Thundershock, Rock Slide, Superpower, don't count on your Melmetal to function the same way in the team that Registeel is going to, because it simply doesn't. I mean, prime example, at full health, an Earthquake from a Swampert is going to one-hit KO a Melmetal with shields down. It will not one-hit KO a Registeel. The Registeel can tank it if it's a hundo and it's maxed out in the Ultra League. They're simply different Pokemon, even though they both have coverage against similar things. Their stat spread is so different that they're going to play different, and potentially you're going to have to comp your team with them differently, right? Melmetal I like because he's fast, he can be aggressive, and he can also be a very powerful lead. Which is why I say he's like Lucario. Even though he's nothing like Lucario, he can kind of be like Lucario, Melmetal can. But yeah, I'm gonna start using that, honestly. I don't think since I'm gonna try to use Melmetal or to feature it, this is part of the motivation as to why I want to try it, because that Melmetal just rocked our world. I'm like, okay, that's done, I'm out of here. Superpower, that was 4 for 5 out of that set. Yeah, so what, 7 for 10 between those two sets. I had another set that I didn't record, or no, 2 other sets from last night I didn't record where I went 4 for 5 in each, which is how our rating ended up improving this much at least. It's looking pretty good, honestly. I think it's going to be moving consistently. The main thing is, you've seen some of the teams that I featured. I've been switching things up. They're not the same. It might not make sense, but the reason I do that, honestly, is because, if people watch my videos and they also happen to run into me in the Go Battle League and I'm using the same thing from a previous video, they're basically gonna snipe me. They know what I'm gonna do. I've explained my, my process in full. I've shown like the IVs of my Pokemon. I've shown the move sets of my Pokemon. I've shown my strategy. Like, that's why I switch it up. That was it. That was the team. It performed pretty well. Again, I had 2 sets that I did not record where I went 4 and 5 in each. One of these that was featured was 4 and 5, and one was 3 and 5, so that's 18, yeah. So that's going to be 18 for 24, which that's still not quite as good, honestly, as I want. When you're trying to, I feel like at this point when I'm trying to grind to rank 10, a 3 and 2 is bad. A 2 and 3 is really bad, and anything below that is just like completely unacceptable. If I'm actually trying to hit rank 10, that's no good. That's not Gucci. I will take a 4 and 1. I think that, that's okay. I feel like there are some uncontrollable teams sometimes that I run into that I'm not familiar with, or even picks that I run into that I'm not familiar with, and I will lose 1 battle in a set. Obviously, the ultimate goal and the goal every single time is to go 5 for 5, because that's going to have the biggest impact. That's going to have the biggest impact on the road to rank 10. It's going to get us there faster. So again, I'm going to switch things up. Hopefully by the time the next video is going to come up, I want to see it improve by another 100 to 150 points. That's going to be my goal. If by the time you see the next video, my rating could end up around 2,900, that would be exactly what I want to see. And then at that point, we're what, 1, maybe 2 days away from hitting rank 10. So it's happened a lot quicker than I thought it would, and it's because I mean, I've been looking into these things so much. It's really starting to pay off. It's starting to work. Well, battlers, that is it for the video. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you feel my vibe. Power up, punch the notification bell for all the PvP content. We'll see you in the next video, battlers. Have a good stinking day.